Hello. I think we're live now. Possibly. I'm going to assume we're live and get going. So hello everyone and welcome to the first of our SEO expert series of webinars. My name's Jeff and this evening I'm joined by Patrick, my colleague and co-founder of Sitebulb, and special guest Izzy. Tonight we've got a slightly different format than usual for you. In a short while, myself and Patrick are going to disappear in the background and I'll hand things over to Izzy, who's going to be talking you through her technical SEO auditing process. Before I get into that, I want to give a quick shout out to Rij and the Women in Tech SEO community. It's through that community that we got to hear about Izzy's talk and some of the talks of our upcoming guests as well. So big thank you to Rij for putting us in touch with Izzy and the others and giving us a chance to share their work with a bit of a wider audience. I'd really recommend that keep an eye on what's going on with that community as well, because Arij and the team's doing some really good stuff. Don't tell her I said that though. So Izzy, for anyone that doesn't know you already, could you give a quick introduction to let everyone know who you are and what you're going to be covering this evening?
Yes, so hello everyone. My name is Izzy. I am working in SEO since 2013, since actually I was a student. Currently, I run my own agency, very small agency. And tonight I will be covering mainly my process of conducting a technical SEO audit, but I will also go through some points that we'll need to check. And definitely there will be more details about what needs to be checked in a post that is going up after the workshop. So there'll be plenty of detail in that as well.
Yeah, that's one thing that we haven't mentioned too much just yet, that Izzy's put together a really good written piece for us on this as well. So that's going to be going live on what was the webinar page after we've finished up. So keep an eye on that. Yeah, just to give a little bit of background. So I mean, obviously Izzy's going to be talking about her process specifically, but the whole workflow thing is something we've focused on a lot at Sitebulb, and everyone has their own processes and we try to work alongside that. So what we really like to see is how different people do their audits, get a bit of an insight from the real world there. So I think we're just going to let you get on with it, Izzy. So if anyone has any questions, drop them into the chat and we'll spend a bit of time going through them at the end. Some of you might be on YouTube, there's a chat there, but there's also a window if you're on our landing page for questions there. So hopefully that's all working. I'm going to hide myself and Patrick now and we'll share Izzy's screen. So give us one moment and we'll sort this out. Right, are you good to go there, Izzy?
Yes, yeah, all good.
So at the moment great. Right, I'm going to disappear and I'll leave you to it.
Okay, guys, so one more time, my name is Izzy. I run my own digital marketing agency, Creators Media. I've been working in SEO since 2013, and since that time, I've went through quite a few technical SEO audits. I have to say, SEO audits are one of my favorite tasks, actually, because you get to know new issues and new websites and stuff like that. So today I'm going to be walking you through my process and of conducting and structuring and communicating the audit to the client or to the manager or whoever you need to communicate it to. Just bear in mind, is my process. It's been working good for myself, but obviously feel free to take it, modify it, and make it better. If you make it better, please come back to me and share it. So yeah, let's just get going. So first, before we conduct the audit, we've got I always got a checklist. What do I check? Apologies for the preso. It's not very pretty, but it's more like a background to what I'm going to show you today. I'm going to be jumping in between screens and spreadsheets and stuff like that. So the checklist, just a very simple thing that is actually with me from the beginning to the end. It gives me like kind of a structure of what am I checking and what am I jumping from to. Even though I've done it quite a few times already, it's still good to, so you don't have to think, okay, what now? It's just, next, and now we're doing this, and now we're doing that. Quite a good tip if you're working in an agency, or if you're working for even in-house, and you need to share it with your boss or with your manager. This is quite a good thing to share it with people you were doing it for, or are not that familiar with technical SEO audit process, because at least they can know like what kind of things you will be checking and what you will actually do for them, especially for the clients outside, like agency clients, but also for the managers or bosses or in-house teams that are not very familiar. So we've got indexability, accessibility. Sometimes you can put it together. Sometimes you can split it. It's totally up to you. Rendering, JavaScript, canonicals, technical duplicate content, redirects, pagination, URL structure, structured data, mobile friendliness, and speed. What we will need to check it. So obviously we will need tools. We will need crawler. That's the first bit that we will need. I am totally voting for Sidebulb here, not only because we're doing it for them and with them. It's just I found it really good. It's been great with my projects. If you, however, need alternative, because, for example, you prefer a web-based crawler, then I can recommend DeepCrawl. It's been doing a good job for me as well. But if you're happy with like a machine-based, and Sidebulb all the way, definitely. What else will we need? We will need Google Search Console, and we will need Google Analytics. Very, very recommended to have access to those, because it just gives you more insights and it can help put things into perspective. What else? And I put additionally, because obviously there's so many tools out there that you might like, or you will find that can help you to conduct the audit. With me, these tools have been helping me. I like them. But if you've got any other alternatives that you prefer, obviously go for it. So we've got a mobile friendliness tool, PageSpeed Insight, or Lighthouse. What would JavaScript do? That's the actually name of the tool of WWJD. It's by Onelli, agency from Poland, I believe. They are based in Poland. It's really good. I really like it. Really recommend it. So any JavaScript switchers. I've recently been using Screaming Frog for auditing core vitals. Again, mobile friendly tool, we've got it twice, mainly for rendering and developer tools. And now my process. So I know it might look really basic, and we kind of we know that, but it's really good to have this kind of processes, like what you will do one after the other. So so again, we're not thinking like, okay, I've got that, what now? So obviously we need to crawl the website. After we crawl the website, or while we're crawling the website, I would create a Word document for the audit with my checklist from the beginning, that one that I showed you at the beginning, being at the very, very start. It will later on be changed into the table of contents. But at the beginning, I'd just like to have it there, so I can have, okay, I've checked this, I've checked that, and kind of been going step by step. Check the crawl, obviously, after it's done. List all the issues or all the hints from the crawl. While the crawl is going, or after the crawl is done, we do a manual check. So we check Google Search Console, any additional tools you might like. We check analytics, and we take all the issues. I take all the issues, and I list them in my Word document with my checklist. So I take all the issues from indexability, for example, and I just list them there. Describe each issue, name it, describe it, and then add actionable solution. And actionable is really a keyword here. So make sure, like, think about it like you're writing an Asana task. Make sure someone can actually take this audit and be like, okay, so this is what I need to do, and this is what I need to do, and this is what I need to do. Later on, create a spreadsheet of affected pages. So I'll take all the pages everything that Sidebolt gives me. I will take all the pages affected with the from the hints and just put it into the spreadsheet. So someone that I'm giving it to, or a developer if we're in-house, or a client if we're an agency, knows exactly what are affected pages, which pages are affected by the issue. So not like, oh, you've got this problem, but you have to go and check yourself which pages are affected. If you're using Google Drive, it's really cool to connect them all together. So we just add the link to the spreadsheet in a Google Doc, so client or a manager or a boss can click through it. And last but definitely not least, create a table of priorities at the end of the report. I think it works miracles. I think it's really good for clients, for managers, for basically people who don't really have time to just have this table, which I'm going to show you later on. Just have this table with like, okay, so she found that many problems. Here are the problems. This is the priority of the problem, and this is the person that needs to take care of it. So if people don't have time to go through the audit again and again and again to actually assign tasks to different teams, the table of priorities works miracles, trust me. So now we got example process. So I'm gonna jump through to my example audit document. So I've used Smith's toys. I don't have any association with them whatsoever. It's just I'm a mother of a 2-year-old. So toys are kind of my life now because I'm probably more addicted to them than my son is. Hopefully it will stop at some point. But now toys are kind of my life. So we're using Smith's for that. So here is my example document, how it will look. So we will have cover page, obviously, here with logos, with a client name, with a date. We will have table of contents that will actually be created in the end, not at the beginning, but it's just something I created to show what I mean. And here we've got example issues. So one is the indexability issue. I will put a little bit of a description what indexability actually is and what kind of things we can find in there. Why are we actually care about it and stuff like that. So the little red bit is like for you guys or for people who are actually thinking, well, how do I check it? So just think, what do I have to check to make sure that search engine can actually index my site correctly? So anything you can a search engine will need to index your site. That's what goes in indexability bit. And now we're going to the issues. I'm going to show you how do I find it in Sidebolt first. So hopefully it works nicely. So here's my my example audit of Smith's toys in Sidebolt. It is quite old, so because I've used it for Women in Tech SEO workshop as well. So if you find different issue or new issues, that's probably why, because it's from November. I didn't run a new one because it took me like probably a day to pick a good website, good enough to use in a workshop. Good or bad enough, maybe I should say. So I've just decided to stick to that. So basically, depends how you want to do it. I would just go with my checklist. So I would jump to indexability. And then I would obviously I would take a look here, and I would usually take some data from like an overview as well to show to the client or to someone who's going to be looking at this audit what is the overall indexability status, let's say. So I will take some data from here. I will take some data, some nice screenshots from a Google Search Console, which I'm going to show you later on as well. And then I will jump to hints. So I've got hints. I will just go through them, take whoever is relevant. I usually use the name exactly what Sidebolt is using because I think they're doing a brilliant job with the learning library, I think it's called. And if someone needs some more insights of what I found, they can just Google it and then go there and check some more. Maybe if the developer needs some insights or a client needs some more insights. So that's how I would do it. If I now move that and we go to my example issue, yeah. Canonical URLs are no index, no follow. A little bit of a description. I usually say how many URLs were affected. What does it mean? So by using canonical tags, we suggest to search engines that this is our preferred version of the URL. Canonical tags also tend to consolidate indexing signals, so the risk of passing no index, no follow to the preferred URL, etc. So I've listed 2 possible solutions. It's usually I will list one, but it's just for you guys to like kind of see my way of thinking and my process. So either just remove no index, no follow from canonicalized page, or review canonical settings, because there might be, if you know that there have been no mistake in setting up a canonical settings, because maybe you doing SEO for this website on a monthly basis, and you kind of know, and you know, just it's been the no index, no follow been added by the mistake, then we can just say remove no index, no follow. If we, however, don't know that maybe there have been some mistakes because this is just like a one-off audit, then I would say like review canonical settings, and then if they're all good, make sure there's no indexing in there. If they're not good and this page should be actually no index, then obviously get the right canonical settings in place. So this is how it would look. And example process, like overall what we would check for the indexability. So first I would check overall index status, like use the site column and give the overview of what we can see in there. Check Google Search Console, check robots, check obviously hints in the crawler, as I've already showed you. Check all the other tools you like to use that can help you with the indexability, with seeing the indexability like overall, and then describe the issue and get the data to the spreadsheet. So we would go, let me show you here. So we would go to view URLs, and then export the 11 URLs. I know there's been also a very cool add-on to a site bulb where you can actually from all hints section you can actually export them all, so you don't have to do it one by one. I'm kind of for some reason old-fashioned. I just do it one by one. Top tip: site bulb is brilliant, and I'm sure other crawlers are also brilliant. But crawler is just a tool, so always spot check for like mistakes. If something seems like that really doesn't make sense, check it. Check Search Console, or check like everything that might be that you don't think it's like, whoa, it doesn't seem possible or something, because these are just the tools. In the end of the day, they're great, but they're just the tools. So sometimes they can make a mistake, like we can make a mistake as people, and tools can make a mistake as well. So definitely spot check for mistake. If you see something that might be like, something is wrong. Here we've got another example analysis for like technical duplicate content. So the difference between technical duplicate content and I call it normal duplicate content. Well, like what we mean by technical, we mean something that happened because of the technical settings. So we don't mean you just took the same content and just put it on 2 pages. That's just in my language, normal duplicate content. But like with technical, I mean like parameters for filtering, or misconfigured web server, or like parameters used for tracking. So anything like that would be considered technical duplicate content, and I would put this into a technical audit. Like if obviously filters are creating a duplicate content, then there's definitely that we have to do something about it. Okay, so we've got our technical duplicate content section here. So again, some overall data. If we go back to site bulb, and we've got some overall data here, like what do we mean like by duplicate content, and describe it a little bit, and take the things that you think are relevant from here, some nice screenshots to like show the scale of an issue and what do we mean and everything. Then we go to hints again, and we just take the issue from here. This one actually doesn't have a technical duplicate content issue, but I thought that's a nice one to put in, and I couldn't find a website that will have some indexability and some technical duplicate content issue, so I just made it up. So we've got technical duplicate content, a little bit of a description. Here it was like because of the filter pages. So if possible, optimize facet URLs and add unique content to it. If not possible, then be careful when you like telling the client or the manager to like no index all the filters straight away. Make sure that you check if they're bringing any money, if they're bringing any traffic to the website, because by just saying like, oh, it's duplicate, we need to no index it. I know it's been a popular solution back in the day, at least that's what I found. It's been a popular solution, but you can cut off some of the valuable URLs actually. So now let's actually see this. So this is my spreadsheet of like, I usually call it audit extension. You can call it however you like, really. I just have a cover page, a little bit of an explanation what issues been found and stuff like that. Again, date, the client, and just I usually take from this from the hints whatever I export. I usually take whatever I think the client will need and what won't make them like, oh my God, what is this? So in here, I just took a URL, canonical URL, if it's indexable, and stuff like that. So, okay, what else have we got here? So this is how I would do it. The other tools I would use are, again, mobile-friendly tests. So I've done it already just to make sure that I don't have any other, and I don't run into any issues. So it's really good for checking rendering as well. You can use it for checking mobile friendliness. You can use it for any loading issue. We see we don't have any loading issues here. Page speed insights, again, they're doing great on desktop. Could be doing a bit better on mobile, but we can see they don't pass core web vitals. So this is something new you would add to the audit as well. So just I would take the hints out from Sidebulb or any other tool, any other crawler you might be using. I would take everything from my other tools that I can find, and I would just put it all in here, and then put all the affected pages in here. Again, I usually take whatever I think it's necessary for the client, so they can understand what we're talking about and are not overwhelmed. Let's say if you're doing it for a person that is familiar with SEO, then probably you can just take everything. If I tend to do it for clients, so I just tend to be like more, just tend to put whatever is necessary, but so they don't get overwhelmed with the findings. This is kind of the process. If you want to go into more details about how do I find what, where do we find what, and how do we check every single point in a checklist, I would really recommend going to the post that will be going live after this workshop, because I've put, it's like nearly, I think it's impossible to actually go into too much detail when it comes to auditing, the technical auditing, in an hour or even less than an hour. So I've just decided to use couple of examples that kind of show you my process and my way of thinking. If you want to go into more details, then definitely go to my go to the post and check it there. I've linked to many great resources that are actually explaining like individual issues and sections, even like in more detail. So definitely go for it. So now I just wanted to touch upon the phrases to avoid in naming and describing the hints or issues or solutions, or however you want to call it, because obviously you can call it differently than I do. So problem with XYZ. So we can sometimes see like, oh, there's a problem with canonical URL. What problem? How can we name this problem? We have to make sure that the name of the issue is actually understandable to the person, so I can take it, like with the actionable solutions. I need to take this problem and say, oh, okay, so this is the problem. If you're using Sidebulb, they're doing great job with naming the hints. If you're using something else, or if you want to name it in some kind of different way, just make sure it's understandable, and it's actually so like URLs with duplicate content, or as we had in an example, canonical URLs are no index, no follow, not like problem with canonical URL, because that will it doesn't really tell me much. Again, solution, we will check this, or we will see and tell you, unless this is a one-off project and you absolutely have no way to check what is wrong. So like we've got a duplicate content issue, let's say, and you had X amount of hours to do this audit, and you can't go into more detail because there is so much duplicate content, and you don't have time to go into more detail. Then we'll have to say, obviously, like, oh, there's a duplicate content issue. You will have to, or your team will have to look into what is creating the duplicate content issue, and then kind of come up with a solution. So if it's filters, then optimize filters, or if they don't bring any value, let's call it, we can de-index the filters. If it's a misconfigured server, you can do this. If it's something else, you can do something else. But if we don't have time, then we don't have time, and we have to kind of live with it. But if it's possible, just make sure that you give them the solution that is actionable, and they can actually take it. And as I said at the beginning, they can actually take it and put it into someone's Asana saying like, fix this, or we need to do this. Not like, go and check because I'm not sure what do they want me to do with this. Another one, description or the solution, wrong setup. Sometimes I can understand, like especially with technical side, I can understand that we are not developers, and sometimes with some things we might be it might be too much the development side to actually explain. For example, I can get that, but at least explain a little bit like what is wrong with the setup, because just saying like wrong setup is okay, and what would we do? So just make sure, basically the outcome of this is make sure everything in your written report is as understandable as possible. So when it might be a bit tricky for yourself, and I will touch on that later on as well. It might be a bit tricky for yourself because you're kind of in it and you understand it. So once you've written your report, I think a really good thing to do is to give it to a copywriter to proofread it, one thing. And the other bonus thing is they are usually not in SEO. So you've got someone that doesn't have a great understanding of SEO like we do, and they can actually tell you like, I don't understand this. And then if you think, oh, but it's like self-explanatory, and they'll be like, no, it's not. Like, I don't get it. Then you can see like, okay, so the client won't get it as well, and I actually have to explain it a little bit more. I've got this problem all the time. Like I write things and I think they are self-explanatory, and then the client is like, what does it actually mean? I'm like, okay. So I always try to give my audits to copywriters to actually spot check it and tell me if they can actually understand. I'm not saying that everyone will understand completely everything like you do, because obviously you're the expert, but at least so they can get an idea what are you trying to say to them. Okay, what have we got here? So tips for writing up an audit or the report. That's what I just said. Yeah, remember your client or boss or a manager is usually not an SEO pro, so use the language they will understand. Try to not be like too techy and too SEO-y. Let's say just use the English language or whatever language you're doing the report in. Again, make actions actionable. So make sure they can take it and put in the product management tool, or they can actually go and fix without thinking like, what do I have to do in here? Use table of contents and headings and subheadings because it's easier to read. Exactly the same like with the with the article you would be writing, or with the blog post you'd be writing, or you'd be putting content on your website. It's just easier to scan through, and with the table of contents, they can see, like, they can jump to specific sections that are interesting to them, or after reading whole report, they can actually go and check the specific sections. You don't have to use the issue solution structure. I think it's really good. It worked really good for me. But if you don't have to. Just make sure the actions or the tasks, or however you would call it, like the outcome of the audit, is actionable and clear. And I really recommend using the table of actions in the end. I'm going to show you the table of actions after that. Again, proofread. I would recommend for someone else to proofread because it's just easier for someone else to spot things that you might be too kind of maybe caught up to spot. Again, bonus, if a copywriter proofread it, then they're not SEOs, so they can tell you if the language is understandable. We're gonna go to useful resources in a minute. I'm just gonna show you the table of priorities here. So this is how my table of priorities looks. Sometimes I would actually cut off the issues. I will just write an action and the department responsible and the priority, just again to make sure I'm doing it in an actionable way, let's call it. So if I write action and there's no issue at the beginning, I'd be like, can I actually understand it? So is remove no index, no follow understandable? Or if I write something like do something about no index, no follow, I won't understand it. And I know it sounds silly, but it's just for you to understand what I mean. So I will just write an actions, and then I will make sure that my actions are actually actionable. And then I will add the issues later on. Sometimes, not always. I will add priorities in the table of actions as well. Again, to make it easier for the client, so they can imagine that you're trying to make their life easier, so they can without reading it, they can just take the table of actions, going like, okay, so we've got here we've got just an example, yeah, but here we've got 2 high priority issues that we have to take care of. Then we've got medium priority issues, so this can probably wait a little bit, yeah. We've got a department that should be responsible for it, so they can say, okay, so I've got 3 tasks for my SEO department, and I've got 1 task for my development department. I've got 1 task for my content department. They can actually see whole output of this audit in this table. I'm using color coding as well. So here we've got high priority and we've got medium priority. I would also have a low priority if there are low priority issues to tackle. Again, just to make their life easier, so they just take it and say like, okay, so by the look of it, I can see that there is not that many high priority issues. We're more like in a moderate state, let's call it. So we should be okay, or it's so many high priority issues, we have to like jump on it straight away. With the prioritization, I would say Sidebook can help you with that. They've got great priorities list as well. Look into also how many pages are affected, because if we've got an issue that seems like a high priority, sometimes, not always, but if we've got an issue that seems like a high priority, but it's affecting 1 URL, and this 1 URL is like not really that important from search perspective, then it wouldn't be a high priority issue anymore. It would be like either moderate or low priority, depends. So look into that, definitely. And then obviously the common sense, whatever you already know. If from your experience something is a high priority issue, put it as a high priority issue. If from your experience something is like not that bad, but we have to tackle it, put it as a moderate. I will not always, sometimes also add date, depending if I'm working with the client and if I'm kind of responsible for giving these tasks to different departments. I will also put date, like what date I would expect it to be done. If it's like a one-off project, obviously, and the client is actually giving it to the different departments, then you wouldn't use that. So that's our table of priorities. Again, I would really recommend using that because I think it's great for making your clients or bosses or managers' life easier. Let me just check my list. I've got my little list here so I don't forget to tell you anything. Color coding, I've mentioned. How to prioritize, I've mentioned. Okay. From the documents, that will be it. This is something I would use from like a search console for indexing. So this is something that you can use to show your client overall indexability status according to the search console. And now we're just gonna jump to like useful resources and tools. So there will be a lot more useful resources in the article, but these are just the ones that I myself sometimes learn from, like a Moz one. So it is quite old, so bear in mind that, but it's got really great structure and it can work even if you're like kind of a beginner. You can really work with that. So I think it's great. I think it's amazing, and you should definitely have a look into it. How to perform in-depth technical SEO audit from Search Engine Journal. Also, very good resource. And I can't say enough amazing things about the Sidebulb Learn section. I think it's great. I think even that we are SEOs, and I've said that on my previous workshop, and I'm going to say this now. You don't have to know everything. And actually, it's impossible for you to know everything because you haven't been through every single website on the internet, and you just can't know all the issues that can happen. You haven't been through every single content management system, and they also can have different issues. They can tackle different issues. So don't be afraid if you get a hint from Sidebulb, be like, oh my God, what's that? I had that, and I think it's okay. Don't be afraid to ask questions. That's why we have our amazing communities. That's what we do on a daily basis in our Women in Tech SEO community. We share knowledge, we ask questions. That's what we do like every day, all day on Twitter. We can see people asking questions. So it's okay. Even if you're an SEO and even if you've been working in the industry for a long time, it's still okay for you to ask questions and to actually keep learning, because obviously if we would have to know everything, then that would mean we don't have to learn anymore because we already know everything. And especially in SEO, and I'm just trying to be mindful of time, especially in the SEO industry and in digital industries, everything changed so quickly. And the things I've learned when I've started, and that was, it does feel like a long time ago, it was 2013, but the things I've learned and we've been doing are completely like outdated now. And technically, it's been like, I'm not that old, so it hasn't been that long. So obviously, you will have to ask questions and you will have to look for things and you will have to learn things. So Sidebulb Learn section is like amazing for it. If you went into the issue that you haven't seen before, just click Learn More, and trust me, you will find everything in there. You will find and another great resources, like a list of resources. So those are the three I would definitely recommend going into. Even if you don't use Sidebulb for your crawling, definitely go into it and check this out. And I think I've covered everything I've meant to cover in here. Yay. So that's all I have for you guys now. I hope you've liked it, and if you guys got any questions, and if Patrick and Geoff wants to join me now, then definitely go for it.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you. That was great.
Thank you. I've been slightly stressed, so if I've done anything silly, I'm sorry.
No, it was great. I was getting into just watching it. I kind of forgot we had to join back in again.
Geoff, you've removed the infinite mirror.
Yes. So yeah, we've had a few good questions come in as well. So I'm going to just jump into them while we've got some time.
Wow. Okay.
So, no pressure, is it? So, first one, a nice site bulb one for you. So, when Izzy runs a first crawl of the site, does she run the default configuration of site bulb, or does she have go-to settings that you'd recommend?
No, so I add things. Let me just so I don't forget. What do I add? Let me just go into it. I add things, and I definitely would recommend whichever platform you are using. So, for example, Shopify being my nightmare, and I know the guys know how nightmarish it was. So be sure to set up, if you're using platform like Shopify, it's 1 minute per URL. Is it, Geoff? Tell me. And
Yes,
one URL.
I think-
One URL.
One second. 1 URL per second.
1 per second. Yeah, definitely per minute.
If it was a minute, it'd be there forever.
That would be really bad. Yes, so definitely be sure you set that up, because otherwise it will just go and go and go and it won't stop, or it will or the Shopify will kick you out, how it's done for me. I always add structured data. I always add international if needed, yeah, obviously, because the default is just page resources. So I add page speed, page resources obviously are there, international. If you can connect Google Analytics and Google Search Console, go for it. If you can't, then just check Google Search Console and Google Analytics separately. Structured data I will add, and yeah, that's my go-to. So structured data, page speed, and international, that's what I would add on top of the settings. And again, be sure if it's some kind of problematic content management system, be sure to make it slightly slower, so the audit actually can finish and can give you the output that you expect.
Yeah, I think actually that's one of the things that, interestingly, when I was speaking to you recently, you'd had problems with that quite a while ago, and since then we've tried to automatically detect the likes of Shopify and things so that we can tweak the settings.
It does. It definitely, yeah. So I think that's great, because even if you forget, then you've got like a little reminder from Sideboard saying like, oh, this is Shopify. You might want to go into settings and change things. Definitely do. Yeah. When you've got this reminder, definitely do go.
Yeah. In fact, the only other thing that I would add that's worth checking with your default setups is to make sure you also have a go running it with Chrome, just so you can check that response versus render report and make sure you've not got things that are changing with JavaScript that you weren't aware of. Even if you don't do your overall audit in Chrome, because you don't necessarily need to, but having at least one run through in Chrome so you can check that sort of thing, definitely, I would say, is a worthwhile setting.
Yeah. So cheers for that one, Andy. That was a nice cycle one. I think we've got another couple in the chat there, but I'm going to ask Patrick. I think he had one lined up first while I have a look for the others.
Cool. So this is about prioritization, and I know you mentioned it in the in your talk, but this is more about like how you approach your own time prioritization. So, for instance, you can easily audit a site with Sitebulb, and 90 issues are flagged. Got 90 hints to look through, and I think quite a lot of people can struggle with this. And like, where do I spend my time? How do I know where to put my focus? How do you? What sort of process do you deal with that?
So I think this one comes. I do exactly know what you mean. I think this one comes slightly with like an experience, and if you went through quite a few of this, like you kind of know which issues should be the first ones to look into, because that's like you've got many hints, and you're just like, wow, is it really that bad? So I don't really have like a simple solution for that. I would just go with whatever from my experience, whatever should be tackled like at first. And again, with the at the point of doing a site audit, you just kind of giving an overview of like, okay, so we've got this and that, and then when you've got your table of priorities, if you use it, then you can actually see like, for example, I've been doing the audit recently, and it's like, okay, so we've got many issues with page speed, and it's like page speed and other things. And obviously we know Core Web Vitals are coming, so then I would say like we have to spend some time fixing it because there is many and we might not get like time to, you know, later on. So I think that would be helpful, because when you've got this list of the of issues and you've got this color coding and you've got, so it actually gives you like, to your mind, it gives you an overview being like, okay, so I can see this is all page speed, or this is all mobile issues. So obviously a lot more people accessing internet from mobile than desktop now. So we have to tackle that. So I think that will be like a good starting point, let's say. But the rest of it, I would say it actually comes with a bit of experience and like whatever you've been through already. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I think the only other thing that I've always found myself looking at with this sort of thing is what is the context of the website itself. So what situation is it in? You know, have they had problems with indexing? Well, then maybe I should be spending time looking at that sort of thing.
So like another good example will be like, for example, I don't know, we've got issue with, I think I've read it somewhere recently, and I think it was really good. Like we've got issues with images, let's say, and we've got so many issues with images, but apparently is a one image, and this image has to be, for example, big because that's the context of the page, and there is nothing else being bad. It's just this image, but it wouldn't make sense to make it smaller. Then obviously we wouldn't, because we kind of make we kind of build the page for users as well. So I think we have to have this in mind also. Like there are issues. It's flagged because it's like algorithm that is ticking when something is, for example, bigger than X. But if it actually makes sense, and if it's nothing else is bad, and if we do it differently, then it will actually doesn't make sense to the user. Then I wouldn't like go with exactly what the crawler said and be like, oh, I need to do this because it's like it's supposed to be 500 pixels and it's 501, and I have to do it because otherwise, like, what will end.
Yeah, totally.
I had another one, just a follow-up from that, actually, in terms of where you spend your time. One of the things I often find with my own is go off on tangents. How much do you keep yourself rigidly to your process versus letting yourself go explore in different areas if you see something different? Do you try and keep rigidly to your plan?
So I think having a process is a really good thing in order to like help you structure your work and be less stressed about it. So as I said, without being like, what now? I've got blank. What now? So I think it's really important. But definitely, if I find something else, or if something seems like, oh, it's really odd, I'm supposed to look into that, then I definitely would. So again, it's kind of like a learning curve, and it's kind of like, I think, a bit of experience process, being like, okay, I've seen that this tend to be an issue, and I've seen that we see a lot of that here. I should definitely go and explore it. So definitely, yes, have a process, but don't be like a slave of your process, being like, okay, I just have to stick to that. It doesn't matter because this is my process. Definitely not. Yeah. It's just process is something that will help you like structurize and structure your time as well, because that's how much time you will spend and what you will. Sometimes you can find yourself like, I didn't have a process. I wasn't a fan of processes actually when I first started, being like, oh my God, why do I have to do it? Like, it takes so much time. Why would I? But then that's a big shout out to Resignal because I've actually learned a lot about processing, working for them. And I think it helps you. It just helps you kind of structure your work and being like, okay, it's fine. I need to do this, and that. And one more thing is, you know what I mentioned about sharing with the client what your kind of process looks like and what the checklist. Client, manager, boss, doesn't matter. It at least manages expectations that your client actually knows what you check in, you know what you agreed to check, and there is no misunderstandings, saying it nicely, between the two of you, being like, oh, I thought you're gonna do this, and you'll be like, oh no, technical audit doesn't include this, for example. Yeah, I had a situation like that when I first started. I've done an audit, and the person was like, I thought you were gonna implement it, and I was like,
yeah,
no.
So that's also helpful, but definitely it's not like you have to stick to it.
Yeah, no, that kind of follows what I tend to do as well. There's a benefit to processes, but they're not everything.
No, definitely not. It's just the process is there to help you, not to make you a slave of it. It's just there to help you structure your work. And then if something is outside the process, then there will be new things coming up as well. And then if you just stick to your old processes, you might miss it. So definitely go explore and just have a process there to help you.
Yeah. Right, we've got a couple more questions in the chat, so I'm going to go to them. So Roman asks, what's your method to measure performance after something gets implemented? So he just clarified in the chat as well there that when he says performance, he means organic search, so improvements.
What's your method to measure the performance after something gets implemented? So that's quite like a big question. So it it depends what kind of the issue was at the start. So I would say definitely benchmark before you start implementing anything, because SEO doesn't work like, oh, we've done this, so then you've moved up in ranking, or we've done this, so then you've got extra traffic, because it's like overall job, it goes all together. So if we've done our technical work and someone else done link building and someone else done on page, that it all works together. It's not like if we do this technical stuff, then we will definitely go to position 1. So it works together, because like I'm also not Google. I can't tell you like, oh, this is definitely gonna be it, because maybe it's something different. So definitely say benchmark at the beginning. If you really would like to measure, maybe you would have to like implement one thing at the time and see if it actually is gonna make you go up or not. But then that actually slows you down a lot as well if we're just doing and waiting. So it depends what your priority is. If the priority is to actually do as much work for the client as you can, and then see them going up, you won't be able actually to tell if it was exactly this or not. But sometimes I can understand you with a client, or you get a manager asking like, so what's the benefit of this? So you could actually implement and then wait and see what's gonna happen. But I'm not a big fan, but that's one way you could do it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just give a quick shout out. One of the tools I've been looking at to do just that's SEOtesting.com. So Nick there has been taking me through some of the methodology, but I agree that the difficult bit is rolling out individual changes so you can identify what has had the impact rather than it just being an overall. But I suppose from an audit point of view, sometimes it might just be a case of justifying that what you've done has had benefit as opposed to any individual thing. So if they just want to say, has the money they've invested in an audit been worthwhile? Do they care what actually made the difference? But jumping into another question here. So thank you for that one, Roman. That was a good one. And one from Eric here. As these problems are corrected, will you recommend performing another technical audit? If so, how soon after the change is implemented should you run the next one?
I mean, for me, there is a differentiation between a crawl and the audit. So I would definitely recommend running regular crawls to like kind of see how are you doing. As for an audit, so what I've showed you was an audit, like a proper big fancy documents and screenshots and spreadsheets and things like that. So this, I would say, depends on how big the website is, and if it's e-commerce or if it's not e-commerce, then probably every 6 months or maybe every 3 months, if it's like really huge e-commerce with everything changing all the time. With the crawls, I would probably say run one at least once a month to actually see how are we doing. If we know that a list of issues has been given to a developer or someone else who's supposed to be tackling it, then yes, definitely run another crawl to see if these issues are still there. What I used to do when I was working with a client whose development team been reluctant or maybe didn't really believe that SEO will work even after seeing like that line in Google Analytics, I just had my table of priorities. And I just kept sending it, going like, oh, guys, this meant to be done by X date, and it's still not done. So we should kind of prioritize that. And they just kept resending it, being like, oh, this is after the due date now. We should be really looking into that. But to do this, I had to run a crawl to see if the issue is still there, or if the issue actually went up, or maybe went down in terms of the number of URLs affected. So yes, I would definitely recommend running a crawl afterwards. As I said, the big fancy audit with the big fancy documents, probably not straight after, because we know what the problems are. We have to now focus on fixing them, if that makes sense.
Definitely, yeah. So we've run out of time, unfortunately.
Have we?
So yeah, that seemed to fly by. Thank you very much, Izzy. So thank you to everyone for watching us. And like I say, special thanks to Izzy for an amazing talk. Been great to have you on. And as I mentioned earlier on, we've got the written piece from Izzy as well, due to go live, along with a recording of this. So any shares or promotion of it would be great. Thank you for anyone watching.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. It's been
thank you for
great.
coming.
Yeah, that was really good.
As I said, slightly stressed, so please forgive me any pitfalls.
Not at all. It was great. And we've got a few more webinars lined up, so keep an eye on this space and we'll share them with you. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel, share Izzy's content, and thank you again for everyone for watching, and good night.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye. Cheers.
Bye.